Hello friends, how are you? What is going on? I hope that you are safe and welcome you all to another video. And today we are going to start with the paper number 4. And in this video, we are going to start the pre-Shakespearean drama, which we were talking about in the Elizabethan drama. And I have told you that there was a point in the pre-Shakespearean drama, that one was the impact of Senecan drama, and the second was the in the University Wits. But University Wit is a separate concept, and I have told you that I am going to take another lecture, the separate lecture from the Elizabethan drama. So today we are going to start with the University of Wits. University Wits. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. So first, let's start with the introduction of this University Wits. So University Wits are the young men who nearly all of were associated with Oxford and Cambridge universities, and they did much to found the Elizabethan School of Drama. So they were all more or less acquainted with each other, and most of them led irregular and stormy lives. Their plays had several features in common. So I have given the 4 features of them, and one by one I am going to tell you. So first feature is there was a fondness of heroic themes, such as the lives of great figures like Muhammad and Tamerlane. So these were the great figures, and they were writing on the such kind of a great figures. The second one is the heroic themes needed heroic treatment. So they also giving a lot of treatment to heroic themes like gratefulness and variety, splendid descriptions, long selling speeches, that is dialogues, the handling of violent incidents and emotions. So these qualities excellent when held in restraint, only too often led to loudness and disorder. So the number third is the heroic style. The style also was heroic. The chief aim was to achieve strong and sounding lines, magnificent epithets, and powerful declamation. So this again led to abuse and to mere bombast, mouthing, and in the worst cases to nonsense. In the best examples, such as in Marvel, the result is quite impressive. In this connection, it is to be noted that the best medium for such expression was blank verse, which was sufficiently elastic to bear the strong pressure of these expansive methods. So number 4 is number 4 is the tragic theme. So the themes were usually tragic in nature, for the dramatists were as a rule too much in earnest to give heed to what was considered to be the lower species of comedy. The general lack of real humor in the early drama is one of its most prominent features. Humor, when it is brought in at all, is coarse and immature. Almost the only representative of the writers of real comedies is George Lilly, who is in such plays as Campus, in which was performed in 1584, Endymion in 1592, and The Woman in the Moon gives us an example of romantic comedies. So let's start with the playwrights. The first was George Pill, who was born in 1558 and died in 1908. So he was born in London, educated at Christ's Hospital and at Oxford University, and became a literary hack and freelance in London. So his play, including The Arrangement of Paris, performed in 1584. It was a kind of romantic comedy. Next play is The Famous Coroner of the Edward I, performed on 1593. So it was a rambling coronial play. The Old, The Day, and The Love of King David and Fair Bethweth, which was published in 1599. So let's move to the another playwright, that is the Robert Greene. So he was born in 1558 and he was died in 92. 1592. So he wrote much and recklessly, but his plays are of different or sufficient merit to find a place in the development of the drama. So he was born at Norwich, educated at Cambridge University in 1575, and went to Oxford University in 1588 for further education, and then took to a literary life in London. If all accounts, including his own, are true, his career in London must have taken place in a sink of debauchery. He is said to have died after an orgy in London alehouse of a surfeit of pickled herring and running wine. So here we can refer only to his 35 prose tracts, which are probably the best of his later work, for they reveal his intense erratic energy, his quick malicious wit, and his powerful imagination. So his plays, number 4 is he has written only 4 plays. So number 1 is Alphonsus, King of Aragon. It was published and performed in 1587. An imitation of Marvel's Tamburlaine. It was the imitation of Tamburlaine. He has written Fair Bacon and Fair Bange in 1589, and easily his best and containing some free and fine representation of Elizabethan life was the Orlando Forcino. It was published in 1591. So it was adapted from an English translation of Ariosto and the Scottish history of James IV, acted in 1592, not a historical play but founded on an imaginary incident in the life of the king. So Green is weak in creating characters, and his style is not of outstanding merit, but his humor is somewhat genial in his plays, and his method less austere than those of the other tragedies. The third was the Thomas Nash. He was born in 1567 and died in 1601. So he was born at Lowestoft, educated at Cambridge University, and then in 1586 went to London to make his living by literature. So he was a born journalist, but in those days the only scope for his talent lay in pamphleteering. He took an active part in the political and personal questions of the day, and his truculent methods actually landed him in gaol. He finished Marlowe's Tydo after his dead. Marlowe's dead, but his only surviving play is Summer's Last Will and Testament, which was written and performed on 1592, and it was a satirical masque. His The Unfortunate Traveller or the Life of Jack Wilton, sorry I have not mentioned it here, but it was a prose tale, is important in the development of the novel, so it is not a drama, so therefore I have not included here. So let's start with the number 4, that was the Thomas Lodge. He was born in 1558 and he died in 1625. So he was the son of the Lord Mayor of London. He was educated in London and at Oxford University, and he was studied law. He deserted his legal studies, took a literary career, and is said to have been an actor at one time. His dramatic work is small in quantity. He probably collaborated with Shakespeare in Henry VI and with other dramatists, including Robert Greene. The only surviving play entirely his own is The Wounds of Civil War. We don't know when it was published. So it was a kind of chronicle play. His pamphleteering was voluminous and energetic. His prose romances constitute his greatest claim to fame, though his prose is elaborate in the epic style of Lilly, and the tales after tedious they contain extant relics. The most famous of his romance is Rosalind, a P.S. Golden Legacy, and this prose he wrote in 1590, and this prose was adapted and followed by William Shakespeare, and he wrote a play As You Like It on this romantic prose, Rosalind. So next, 5th number, the greatest of the university wits was the Thomas Kidd. He was born in 1558 and died in 1594. So he is one of the most important of the university wits. Very little is known of his life. He was born in London, educated probably at Merchants Taylor School, adopted a literary career, and became secretary to a nobleman. He became acquainted with Marvell, Marlowe, and that brilliant but sinister spirit enticed him into composing lived libels and blasphemies. Marlowe's sudden death saved him from punishment from such offences, but Kidd was imprisoned and tortured. Though he was afterward released, Kidd soon died under the weight of bitter times of private broken passions. Much of his dramatic work has been lost. Of the surviving play, The Spanish Tragedy, it was written and performed in 1585, is the most important. It is a horrific plot involving murder, frenzy, and sudden death, and it is my very favorite comedy. If we were talking face to face in our classroom, definitely I have told you, I would like to tell you the story of this play, because it is one of my favorite tragedy. Okay, so this play gave the play a great and lasting popularity. There is a large net of tragical conception about the play that resemble the work of Marlowe, and there are touches of style that dimly foreshadow the great tragical lines of Shakespeare. The only other surviving play known to be Kidd's is Cornelia, published, written and performed in 1593, a translation from the French Senecan Garnier, but his hand has been served in many plays including Solomon and Persida in 1558, the first part of Geronimo in 1592. So it was an attempt after the success of the Spanish tragedy to write an introductory play to it and Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus. And the last and the greatest of the university wits and equal to Shakespeare, that is a Christopher Marlowe. He was born in 1564 and he died in 93. So he was the greatest of the pre-Shakespearean dramatists. He was born at Canterbury and educated there and at Cambridge University. He adopted literature as a profession and became attached to the Lord Admiral players. His combination of inquiring mind and dissolute life led him to be charged with atheism and immortality, and only his sudden death in a tavern brawl enabled him to avoid arrest. Marlowe's plays or tragedies were written within 5 years, from 1587 to 92. He had no bent for comedy, and the comic parts found in some of his plays are always inferior and maybe by other writers. As a dramatist, Marlowe had serious limitations, though it is possible to trace a growing sense of the theatre through his plays. Only in Edward II does he show any sense of plot construction, while his characterization is of the simplest and lacks the warm humanity of William Shakespeare's. All the plays except Edward II revolve around one figure drawn in bold outlines. This character shows no complexity or subtlety of development, and it is the embodiment of single idea. Indeed, to appreciate Marlowe properly, we must put aside conventional ideas of the drama and his views on plays as the representation of a poetic vision. The typically Renaissance quest for power combined with the quest for beauty. The Tamburlaine the Great, the shepherds seek the sweet fruit of every crown. In the Jew of Malta, Barbassa seeks inferior riches in the little room, while the quest of Dr. Faustus is for more than human knowledge. Each of the plays has behind it the driving force of this vision, which gives it an artistic poetic unity. It is indeed as a poet that Marlowe excelled. Though not the first to use blank verse in the English drama, he was the first to exploit its possibilities and make it supreme. His verse is notable for its burning energy, its splendor of diction, its sensuous richness, its variety of pace, and its responsiveness to demands of varying emotions. Full of bold primary colors, his poetry is crammed with imagery from the classics, from astronomy, and from geography. An imagery barbaric in its wealth and splendid, it is a responses and power led by Ben Jonson to coin the phrase Marlowe's mighty line, but its might has often obscured its technical precision and its admirable lucidity and finish. So his first play, Tamburlaine the Great, centered on one inhuman figure, is of the theme essentially under dramatic in that the plot allows no possibility of complication. The play is episodic and lacking any cohesion save the poetic one already referred to. It contains much of Marlowe's best blank verse. Its sequel, the second part of Tamburlaine the Great, which was written and performed in 1588, is inferior to its predecessors. It contains still less plot for more bombast. The Jew of Malta, which was written and published in 1589, has two fine, economically handled opening acts, but deteriorates later when the second villain, Ithamore, enters. The later section may, however, be by another hand, possibly Hayward's. The play is also of interest as showing Marlowe's attention turning toward the conventional Machiavellian villain. Edward II, which was written and performed in 1591, showed the truest sense of the theatre of all his plays. Its plot is skillfully woven, and the material, neatly compressed from Hollinshaw's chronicles, shows the sense of dramatic requirements new in his play. And indeed, in English historical drama, the play has less poetic fervor than some of the others, and its hero is not great enough to be truly tragic, but it works up to fine climax of deep pathos. In its multiplicity of living characters and lack of bombast, it stand apart from the other plays. Dr. Faustus, probably written in 1592 and performed in same year, it was my favorite play. So it is about the Dr. Faustus who wanted to learn the black magic, and he make a assignment, or we can say the agreement with the Satan, that he will enjoy the black magic for 20 years, and after that his soul he will give to Satan, and his soul will live in the hell. So Dr. Faustus has a good beginning and an ending which marvels supreme achievement, but the comic scene in the middle are poor and maybe by another hand. The play contains some interesting survivals of the miracle plays in the conversation of the good and evil angels. The tragedy of Dido, queen of Carthage, it is inferior pitch, and maybe the Nashe has shared some of his part. And the last one, the Masquerade at Paris, it was unfinished in 1596. It was an unfinished play. So hey guys, I hope that you understood the University of Wits. So here we have completed the section A, that is the Elizabethan concept, and from tomorrow we are going to start with the characteristic of Jacobean parade. So thank you for watching.